went in for the routine mammogram on October 31st, which I thought was routine, which I do yearly. And lo and behold, and to my surprise, I did get a letter that stated that there was an abnormality and that I needed to come in for further testing. And so, okay, and on November 27th, I got the phone call, and they asked me if I could please come in. And I said no. I said, I won't do that. I said, you tell me here and now. Don't make me find out those words in a strange place with strange people. Tell me now, because it's not going to matter where I hear it. And I'd much rather hear it in the comfort of my own home. So they did, and they said it's cancer. And it was the punch to the gut that you'd never expect, even though in the back of your mind, you know someday you may deal with it. I knew what I was up against. And I called him at work.
Actually, you texted me.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
With just the words, I have cancer. As she said, that's kind of I didn't know what to do then. I just stared at my phone for a couple minutes and before she called me. And I just had no clue where to go from there, what to say, what to do.
I hadn't had 24 hours to process that I had cancer. And I walked in and I saw this huge smile on this oncologist's face. And she was happy. She was elated. She was joyful, is the best way I can describe it. And it was very confusing for me. Why was she so happy? Why was she smiling? I didn't find anything to smile about. And she had asked me about my history, and I said, yes, I do have 2 grandmothers that had had mastectomies, but neither one had lost their life from them. And to my knowledge, they had never had chemotherapy, and they did live longer lives, and when they passed, it was not from their cancer. And I had a mother who was still alive today that had cancer as well. And so I did know that was in my corner. And she said, well, you need a double mastectomy. And I said, now this was before we had any other tests done other than just a mammogram, an ultrasound, and a biopsy. And it was another kick to the stomach. And she said, and you need 7 weeks of radiation, you may need chemotherapy, and you're going to be on tamoxifen for 5 years, and you're going to be with me for the next 10 years. And I couldn't breathe. And I started weeping, and I couldn't process it. That was to me worse than being told I had cancer. Sorry. So at that point, I knew she was not going to be my oncologist. And she did an examination, and she was still really joyful, and I had asked her for a tissue, and she said she didn't have one. And I thought, well, what kind of oncologist is a cancer doctor that doesn't have a tissue? And it pretty much amazed me. But we walked out of there, and I looked at my husband, and I said, do you see that? And he looked up above my head, and he said, what? And I said, the dollar sign. That's how she made me feel. I said, my cancer is nothing but money to her, and my life is not meaningful to her. And I am now how much money she can make off my life. And I said, and she will not be my doctor. And he said, I honor that. I did my research on this facility where I was going to be told I had to have radiation. I did my research on the best surgeon in our area, which she was. And I battled my insurance. And that was a biggie for me because my insurance battled me the whole way. And we thought we had good insurance. And I wrote a lot of appeals. And I fought hard to get my surgeon. And they told me that if I had my surgery in 2017, they would pay for it. But if it was after 2017 and into January or into 2018, they would not. That didn't leave me much time. I was diagnosed on November 27th. So I had to really get things done quickly in my mind. So at that point, I did go meet with the surgeon, and she gave me some hope, and she said, you do not need a double mastectomy. She said, at best, you need a lumpectomy. And she said, and it is my wish and my job to leave you as intact as you arrived, and I will do that. And she gave me her word, and I believed her. And she did. And not only that, but I know she did something very special for me, and she scheduled my surgery on December 26th, the day after Christmas. Then I started to find truth about cancer, and I started to do that. And you see me smiling because it gave me hope, and it changed my whole outlook. It was huge.
Well, that's a fact. It was a very noticeable difference.
It was
as
huge.
Her and I began watching the series. The first night, after just the first night of watching it, I think I sat through the whole thing with my mouth hanging open because suddenly so many things made sense to me. Just common sense, and the questions raised in there, the history of the cancer pharmaceutical industry and stuff was just very common sense, and it was like light bulbs going off in my head.
It was jaw-dropping. He's right. We sat with a box of tissue between us, and we both just flooded us. And I got to be honest with you, it wasn't for me. It was for all the people we knew that have lost their battles. His father lost his. And I just looked at him and I said, if the people that aren't here today would have had this information, they may still be here. That was huge. I knew I was going to be okay. You guys did that for me. Truth About Cancer did that for me. But I thought of all the ones that aren't here, and that was huge.
What I really did not count on, was the emotional aspect of this thing. I so underestimated that. It just sucks the life right out of you for a while. And I just can't stress enough how strong that part of it is. Once you get through that, once I heard her say, I'm going to be fine, it's like, whew, you just let your breath out, and just, it's such a difference. It's such a difference.
The one thing that was really inspiring to me that I don't think a lot of the doctors understand is the nutritional side of things. And when I found out that most doctors do not spend probably more than an hour on nutrition, the very next day I had to see my radiologist. And I thought, I'm just going to go in and ask. And I said, I have a question for you, and I don't want to offend you. I did really like him. He's a very nice gentleman. But I said, if you don't mind, could you answer a question for me? And he said, yes. I said, throughout the whole time you were going through school to become a doctor and become a radiologist, how much time did you spend on nutrition? He said, honestly, probably less than an hour. It's wonderful that we learned this nutritional side of this, and not only can it benefit you and I, but I said, we have 3 grandchildren, and it's going to help me to help them and help our children. And we totally cleaned everything out. We went totally organic. We didn't go totally vegan, but more towards vegan, plant-based, and started doing farmers markets and buying locally and buying things that we knew where they were grown and how they were grown and organically grown. And we met lots of good people along the way and people we could trust. And I looked at myself through going through radiation as every night we watched Truth About Cancer and we made all these changes. And I did the essential oils, and I did the supplements, and I did all of it. And the truth, I had more energy than I had had in 15 years.
The nutritional side is huge. It's one thing we learned from the documentary, The Truth About Cancer, was the, as she mentioned earlier, the key words to look for in ingredients of what you're eating. Things, and that education, that piece is vital to you. It tells you things that are hidden from you. You really get the impression that you've been lied to.
In the documentary about how it's important that you get your mind clear and you the baggage that I had carried with me through years, through past experiences. You make phone calls, you forgive people, you let that go, you gotta let it go. I patched relationships. We had a daughter who we've had a strained relationship for many years. We're back together. That was huge. I had so many good things come out of it, but the things that I learned from your documentary wasn't just nutrition. It was all of that. It was the mindset. It was, it was the essential oils. It was the supplements. That was a big, huge part of it. I started doing the supplements, the exercise, turmeric, and the detoxing, and I can't even think of them all, but I knew that was all a big part of the energy that I was feeling and the recovery and the energy level that I was having. It was all of it to put together. But the mind and all of that together and letting go of all that was such a burden for so many years, and healing some relationships and reconnecting with people, that was all part of it. It was huge. It was very big for me. My diagnosis on November 27th of stage 1 ductal invasive carcinoma. Today I'm cancer-free and proud and happy to say so. And my life is better. I'm not your typical cancer story. I had a lot of good positive things come out of this. And I smile a lot and I cry a lot, but happy tears. It brought a lot of joy to my life. It really did, and a lot of good people. And it reconnected me with my husband. We've been married 37 years, and anyone that's been married that long, you kind of pick corners, and you're married and you love each other, but you're not always really connected.
Oh, I loved you all the time.
And I loved you all the time. But we're connected now, and we're reconnecting every day. And it helps you get priorities straight, and it helps you realize what matters and things that don't, and what to let go, and you pick your battles, and you realize that things that you thought were battles, they're no longer battles. And today I am cancer-free by the grace of God above and the help of Truth About Cancer and everything I've learned through this journey. And I am going to share it with everyone that will listen when I talk to them about it.